Hello, this is Maxwell Good, and welcome to another edition of the LaPorte County Perspective, WDSO's long-running interview segment which highlights organizations and individuals making Northwest Indiana a better place to live. This week I'm happy to have Chris Crossbane and Carissa in from Stepping Stone Shelter located in Michigan City, Indiana. Welcome to the show, Chris and Carissa. I'm excited to learn more about Stepping Stone.
Me too.
Yeah, thanks for having us today. Yeah.
Alrighty, so first can you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your background which brought you where you are today?
Sure. So my name is Chris Crossbane. I'm the director at the Stepping Stone Shelter. And this is...
I'm Carissa Alanis. I am a case manager at Stepping Stone Shelter.
And you guys invited us in to talk a little bit about what it is that we do. We're a nonprofit in Michigan City, a domestic violence, sexual assault, trafficking shelter. And so we're here to kind of, answer some questions that you might have and be able to spread a little bit more awareness and education and outreach about what it is we do.
Absolutely. Alrighty. So we'll go more in depth, but for now, can you give us a brief overview of what Stepping Stone Shelter is, why it's important to have around this area?
Yeah, so Stepping Stone Shelter, actually, we're domestic violence, sexual assault, and trafficking shelter. We've been around since 1983, so we've been doing this work for 41 years in Michigan City, primarily LaPorte County, although we serve individuals that need our services if they come from another county too. So we do have a LaPorte, is 600 square miles, so it's very vast and very wide and from rural to urban. And then we also have, folks, if there's a need from Porter County, and Porter County might be full, or Lake County. And then we also serve other states. We've had individuals from all over. So, so that's what we do. We also have a transitional housing unit. So we have a second site. We have the emergency crisis shelter. So I guess to go a little bit more in depth, 24-hour crisis means if somebody is experiencing domestic violence or assault and they need help right away, they can call our crisis line, and we talk them through safety planning and how to, what it is they want, what it is, how we can help them. If that means leave right now, if that means, get police to their house to help them leave, whatever we can do to help them. And then they can stay in our shelter for up to 30 days. And then we also have transitional housing, which is an apartment complex. It's a different site, different location, and they can stay up to 18 months for no cost, no rent, no utilities, as long as they're working on their permanent housing. We're helping them. Our case managers, like Carissa, helps them along the way with supportive services, and we could talk more about those services, but all those components that we help them with to do that. And sometimes they might just call that crisis line and say, I'm in this situation, I'm not ready to leave. Mm-hmm. How do I plan to do that? How do I, can I talk to somebody about what it is? You want to add?
Sometimes I think they want somebody else, they want to hear it from somebody else. Yes, you're experiencing domestic violence. So yeah, I had a call like that the other day. So yeah.
That's a fantastic resource to have. So your temporary housing and your transitional housing allows for people to get back up onto their feet?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, so could you tell me a little bit more about the history behind the shelter?
Sure. So Stepping Stone was a part of Swanson Center, which is a community mental health center. They do a lot of different services there. They probably better talk to them and see everything they do, but we work with them with mental health services. But it originally was a part of their program, but not a shelter. It was more the non-residential part, like folks could call them. That was way back. And then it spun off into the shelter that it became. So that's when it became Stepping Stone, and it's a separate site. We don't talk about where the location is because it is a confidential site, so that people can come there and feel safe and secure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that's when it became a shelter, and we've been doing that work all those years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Bridge program, the transitional housing, is only about 20 years old. So that started much later.
Okay. All right. So where do you guys receive most of your funding from?
So funding is, as all grant funded. There is no income. So all of the work that we do, we never ask an individual that comes to us for any money. Mm-hmm. It's all grant funded, donations from individual donors, organizational donors, and then specifically state and federal grants. And then, of course, local grants too. But we're always looking for support for the things that we do.
Where can people go to donate?
Yeah, so our Facebook page and our website. Our website is www.steppingstoneshelter.org, and then our Facebook page too. But they can go on there and it says donate, and they can go in and take a look. And the reason I say our social media page is because we try to really update there what it is we're doing. So sometimes, like, it was kind of cool. Our spring break, the case managers wanted to do a couple neat spring break activities for the kids in the shelter, and so we posted, can anyone help us with funds for that? And right away people jumped on, and
I was like, oh,
it was
wow.
so cool. And so those funds went right to that kids activity. So it's specific to to the operations of the shelter, things that we couldn't do it because we don't have, that's how we do it, through donations.
Lots of community support.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, and volunteers, of course, too.
Volunteers. So how many employees does the organization have, and what are some of the positions they fill?
Yeah, so sorry, these are all on my end, Carissa.
No, that's okay.
So we have, we're at 22 employees right now, actually soon to be 23, as we just got a sexual assault grant that we're, being able to, the grants typically pay for our employees. So for the programs that we do, like the staffing, and so we're running at 22. And we have a combination. So we have residential technicians who work the day-to-day interactions with our clients. We have advocates, case managers, child advocate, Carissa's a case manager. And we have sexual assault program specialists. We have shelter operations manager, bridge operations manager. What am I forgetting? We also, Goodwill. We also use Goodwill employees. So they've been great to help us with maintenance and, like some housekeeping things. Those are neat relationships that we have.
Krista, you said you're a case manager?
Yeah.
What's that job entail?
So when a client comes in, I'm doing like an initial meeting with them, find out a little bit about why they've come to the shelter, and assessing what their needs are, what resources. So from there, when I assess their needs, I figure out which resources to give them to call or whatever. Sometimes I call for them or sit in while they call because they're a little nervous to do it themselves. But yeah, basically I'm just managing their case. They're getting them where they need to go. Essential transportation, I give them rides to pick up apartment applications, interviews, things like that, and just kind of keeping them on top of their goals and encouraging them, and make sure they're meeting their goals.
It's a lot of work with individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I see. All right. So could you guys tell us a little bit about your partnership with the ICADV, or the Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence?
So we're a member of the ICADV, and we have meetings with them. In terms of, it's really what it is it's a community of support for all domestic violence shelters in the state of Indiana. So we can learn what's new, we can learn the challenges that we're having. For example, one of the main grants that we have is being cut by 40% federally. So we're all, talking about how are we going to work, how are we going to be able to manage that? What are we going to do differently, or how are we going to anticipate ways things might change? What are good, other things that other shelters are doing, maybe trends that they're seeing, things like that. So it's a great resource and support for us as a shelter.
All right. Mm-hmm. Could you guys define domestic violence for us, and in what different ways can it manifest?
So domestic violence, it can be confusing because it's not just like you got into a fight on the street and you were battered that way. It's in a living situation. So you're living, you're in a living situation with somebody, and it's not just with an intimate partner. It can be with a family member, sibling, whatever, like that, a friend. If you're living with a friend and experiencing domestic violence, and say they're just verbally, not just, but say they're verbally abusing you, that's domestic violence, even though it's your friend and not like a boyfriend or girlfriend. And so some of the ways it manifests is financial. They're controlling your money or manipulating you into giving up your money to them for whatever reason. The power and control within an intimate relationship that threatens a person's well-being. So physical, obvious, they're physically abusing you, sexual abuse, emotional and financial abuse. So verbal, constant name calling, put downs. I think a lot of people ignore that part. They just think of the physical because the emotional aspect is kind of hidden, and you're not having like physical bruises and things like that. But and that's not to say, I think, all forms of abuse, no one is like worse or better than the other. So I think there's a mentality that, oh, you're just being name called, that's it, but
There's a little more to it.
It's still hurtful. You're being abused on the inside instead of the outside. So yeah.
So it's a lot about that power. Is there like a power imbalance to it a lot of times?
Yeah. Something's popping into my mind. So it's where the husband is saying, kind of, he makes all the money and is just keeping the woman at home and is not letting her get a job to have her own little income, so yeah, there's that kind of power imbalance. I feel like it's more when whoever has more money a lot of times is how it works. Yeah.
All right. So can you guys share some statistics and information about domestic or intimate partner violence, which you feel is important?
Yeah, so, there's October typically is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and there's a lot of statistics that go around during the month of October. Not that those change, but one in three women have experienced domestic violence or some sort of, violence or assault, and 1 in 5 or 6 men. And I think a lot of times people think that men aren't abused. It doesn't affect men, but it does. And the shelter takes men, women, and children, and many times we actually have more children than we do women, depending on how many children come with each person. But so 1 in 3, and so a lot of times you'll see it. People say everyone knows someone, because it really is. The more you talk with somebody, you realize that, and like you said, Caressa, they don't always realize that they're being abused or they're in an abusive situation, because it is. It's that power and control that you mentioned. It's that power and control, and that can manifest itself in many different ways. But most people probably do know somebody, and not always talk about it, because people are ashamed, or they feel like it's okay,
or they don't know that they're being abused because they've normalized it, either from childhood or whatever. Like, this is just the way things are, and some people don't even know what abuse is, or that they're being abused. So I've had to tell somebody, that's definitely abuse, what you're experiencing. It's not just a little thing because they're telling you what direction to go to the store, or controlling your routes to places. That's abuse.
Looking at your phone, checking who you're contacting, who are you talking to constantly, and wanting to know every little detail. And there's also, we didn't mention, there's also elder abuse, taking someone's finances, taking over their life, and so there's elder abuse as well that we work with.
I see. So, what would you say are some of the indicators of a relationship that is both healthy and not healthy?
Not healthy, that control, that some people, they're like, oh, I want somebody to be clingy with me. That shows they love me. It's a matter of degree. If you can't go into work, but first you have to call them and tell them where you are, or they're constantly calling you through the day to check on you. Some people are like, oh, that's so cute, they care about me. But that's really a big red flag, that constant need to be in communication with you, check in with you to see where you are, who you've been talking to. A healthy relationship, you're in a relationship together, but you both have your own lives. You go, you're separated during the day, you're off doing what you need to do in life. And if you're living together, you come back together at the end of the day. You might check in throughout the day or whatever, but it's not a constant, like, who did you talk to? What girl did you look out? You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I think a healthy relationship is where everybody is, it's a two-way street, I think it's give and take, and, you feel safe, you feel comfortable. I think that can vary for different people, but I think, being able to talk to one another and not feel like there's a hierarchy.
Healthy back and forth.
Yeah, and I think, we aren't going to probably talk a lot about this today, but also even in dating, a lot of times it starts with dating. What's a healthy dating relationship? And, we're talking here at the high school today, it really makes me think about it as what do teens, what are they used to when they get in their first relationship, or maybe they're involved with someone that they really think is cute and they really like them, and they're not treated well, but they're a really popular person, and so they don't share some of those things, or they feel like that's okay.
I think teens need to begin to look at their family. Like, they might have an inkling something's a little off, or they might not, but just regardless, start to look at their family dynamics, because it's kind of my theory. I'm not like a therapist or anything yet, but that a lot of this begins in childhood from the patterns that they see, and it's just normal. So they just continue to repeat that. So just everybody to look at their family, teens, look at their family dynamics, and people that are in relationships to start to question, like, do I feel good in this relationship? Is this normal?
Not trying to project that feeling onto others as well.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll ask you to share this again before the end of the interview, but could you share with us some phone numbers or websites you'd recommend?
Yeah, so the website is www.steppingstoneshelter.org, and then we have crisis calls. So we have the 1-866-879-4615 is the free toll-free line. And then we have 219-879-4615, which is also our crisis line. They can reach us there.
All right. Excuse me. So, for those experiencing domestic violence, what services does Stepping Stone Shelter provide, both residential and non-residential?
So the case management, is I think a huge one. We have, different groups for the ladies while they're there at the shelter, like life skills group and domestic violence support group, sexual assault group. While they're in the shelter, they're encouraged to, attend those groups and learn everything they can about domestic violence and how to sort of begin healing from that and moving on. And non-residential clients, sometimes they just want to come in and meet for validation, of what they're going through. Sometimes they want help with a protective order. I can help them do that right online. I sometimes, after they leave the shelter, they still come in after just for support and encouragement. They're like maybe going through a divorce, just somebody to vent to while they're going through that experience. Yeah,
and we do a number of supportive services, so it's really tailored to what that individual needs. So that individual might need, they may have left, for example, one client was relocated here, and that's not an unusual thing, where they might be dating someone or get married, and then they're relocated away from their family. Mm-hmm. So now they're in this area. They don't know anything about our area. They're from a different state, hours away, and they may just need to learn about where they can go for different things. We help. I lost my train of thought. We helped her with getting a job and getting into our transitional housing where she can be self-sufficient. Excuse me. But her needs, some parenting. Mm-hmm. Kids that are in relationships and living and growing up in abusive situations see and hear a lot of things that maybe you don't even realize or that they pick up on, and you see acting out, you see difficulty with the children, and parents don't, there's no, when kids are born, they don't hand you here's the 101 handbook mm-hmm. about how to manage your kid. There's no secret answers. And so we have parenting come in, we have Dunebrook mm-hmm. and Purdue comes in and does nutrition classes. We partner with tutoring.
I'm
resume.
helping them sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm oftentimes helping them getting basic paperwork, like their birth certificates, ID cards. In some places, they don't know this, but if you're experiencing homelessness because of domestic violence, in certain places you can get your birth certificate for free. You can get a P.O. box for free for 6 months at the post office. Things like that I'm connecting them to. I'm so encouraging that here's the resource. Go ahead.
Resources.
Do it.
Yeah, right.
Knows about.
Yeah.
Right. We're giving them the hand up.
Yeah.
Yes, there's absolutely, we when they come to us, many times they come in the middle of the night, with nothing. I mean, they may have grabbed their papers. Hopefully they've maybe even reached out ahead of time to work on a safety plan to come to us and figure that out. But a lot of times something's occurred and, or we go to the hospital and meet them. We have an on-call crisis team that responds 24 hours to the hospitals when there's, if they need advocacy. And so they come with nothing. And so we provide clothing, we shelter, hot showers, warm meals. We have a cook on staff. We cooks the food. We'll give them whatever they need, clothing, but then we provide these resources like, okay, now here, it's up to you to, like, where do you want to go? You're driving the bus,
Because they've lost their own empowerment. So I will at the beginning, like, kind of do a little bit more for them, but after a time be like, okay, you can do this yourself.
Reinstate, like, their individuality and that they can do these things that have been taken away from them.
Yeah.
Got it. So, what can you tell us about the Stepping Stones Human Trafficking Program and its goals?
Yeah, we don't, it's, we do the trafficking program, we partner with others, we, we're careful when we talk about that program, it's pretty dangerous. There's a lot involved with that because when a trafficking ring is, what's the word I'm looking for? If they bust up a trafficking ring and then, victims are brought to us, sometimes they're brought from out of state, they're brought from different places. And so, and not always placed on site with us. We have different places that we work with them. So the trafficking is for anyone that's involved in sex or labor trafficking or, they, again, a lot of times don't realize they're being trafficked. They don't even know. Sometimes they might come to the shelter for different reasons. A lot of times it's somebody that they've known and trusted and has worked to trust them. And then we have a specialized program staff, Amanda, that works with our trafficking victims to try to help them out. Because there's a lot of legal that goes around with that too.
I see. Next, what can you tell us about the Bridge Transitional Housing Program offered by Stepping Stone Shelter? Is there any more information you'd like to share on that?
Yeah, so the Bridge Transitional Housing Shelter, Transitional Housing, same thing. It's, we send folks there after they've gone through the shelter program, the 30-day program, and if they're, we refer them over there. So like Chris said earlier, they can stay there up to 18 months, but we want them to stay on their goals while they're doing that, not kind of get comfortable.
Yeah.
But it's just another place for them because 30 days, if you think about it, sometimes it's hard. Some people have easier time. It's just like a luck thing. I feel like sometimes they can get a job, find housing in the 30 days. And some people can't. They've got, 3, 4, 5 kids, which makes it a lot harder to go out and get things done sometimes. So it's just offering them a little bit longer time to really get that all together for themselves.
Yep, and it focuses a lot on self-sufficiency at that point.
Yeah.
And they do have to do check-ins there with their case managers. We still offer supportive services, all the things that Carissa was talking about. All of those are still offered in that program for them, and they check in and let us know kind of where things are going with permanency. And they can leave earlier if they get it something right away. Then it's awesome. Then they can move out into a permanent housing situation a lot sooner, but sometimes it does take longer. Sometimes they want to move out of state, so it takes a little bit of time to go, back to the other family or whatever, and so we help them to save up their money to do that. It's not something that we would pay for them to do, but we provide them, the place to live, like I said, rent-free and utility-free until they're ready to go.
Right. So what would you guys say is the reason you're most proud to work at the shelter? And have there been any of those moments that cross your mind that you've just been like, wow, I'm really making a difference in people's lives?
For me, it's the small things. Helping somebody get their birth certificate, giving somebody a ride to an appointment, because without those just basic things, they're really kind of stuck. If they don't have transportation, we have public transportation in Michigan City, but that doesn't go everywhere, so just being able to help them with the most basic stuff to help get them going is probably my proudest stuff at the shelter. Yeah.
She downplays her. Carissa's done an outstanding job, and she hasn't really shared. Carissa was an intern with us that we brought on and hired on while she was in her college program, and so she's done a great job for us, and she's works with adults and the kids too. So
thank you.
No, but Carissa really has a heart and has a really good understanding of needs and has a good sense of working with the clients, and the clients really they really respect her. And I'm new to the shelter. I started in July. I actually started after Carissa had already been there. So for me, seeing them smile and seeing them light up after coming in really from a difficult situation, and really realizing the vital work that the shelter does. I think, sometimes we come and we talk about it like we are here, but the reality of the work that we do, when you see someone come in injured, when you see someone come in with bruises and can't walk or on crutches or can't, and then to come in and to heal and just let them decompress and to provide the trauma. We're just a trauma-informed space, and to really give them the empowerment back. And I just remember the first hug that I got from one of the clients was when I just took her into the clothing room and just helped her find clothes to fit because she didn't have enough with her, and she just didn't know what she was going to do. And I gave her a blanket and clothes and some. We have these Mary Kay ladies who have been donating all kinds of Mary Kay products and giving her lipstick, and it was a genuine, like, grateful smile that they didn't have when they first came in. You really are making a difference.
That's fantastic. So, for those who may be interested in joining the cause of Stepping Stone Shelter, are there any volunteer opportunities out there? And if so, what kind of volunteers are you looking for, and where can they go to volunteer?
Yeah, so for sure, we love volunteers, and we utilize them a lot, and in different ways. So some volunteers, sometimes it's just an organization. It might be a school group or a church group or a sport, youth group, whatever, that's looking for a service project. And we can put something together like that, whether it's outside, maybe doing a yard work cleanup project, or if it rains, we can bring them inside and do a cleaning, like a cleaning or organizing project. Sometimes we have volunteers that want to work with us for a period of time. They need to have, we work with even the juvenile detention center, and those don't necessarily want to come, but they have to as a part of community service. So they come out weekly and do different projects. We sometimes have people that want to just give their time, and once a week I have a volunteer now, an adult who works as a wonderful job, and she comes and runs an activities group for the kids every week because she loves the contact with the children. We have another volunteer that just comes in every Friday and does phones. We taught her crisis calls, and she just likes to volunteer in the office. There was one more I was going to mention, but
it's not really volunteers, but the interns. If you're in human services or social work, see if you can do your internship at Stepping Stone.
Good plug. Yeah, for sure. And I was hoping that we could even maybe work something out. I know some of the high schools are looking for high school opportunity placements and community service, so we can make those things work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So beyond just like physical volunteering, is there any other ways people can help your organization?
Yeah, so we love like supply drives. So if somebody wanted to organize like cleaning supplies, because we go through a lot. We serve about nearly 400 people a year. We didn't talk about that in the stats. About 400 people a year, and I think we served 13 men last year, and nearly, 80% of that was women that we served. But cleaning supplies, styrofoam cups, paper plates, forks, plastic things for
toilet
paper, paper towels, like supplies like that are always good, and we go through a ton. So those are things that we have to figure out how to purchase through, because they're not in grants. Mm-hmm. So figuring, those are always great. Painting, sometimes our Facebook page is a great place. We'll put up different things. Right now they're doing a garden, and so we'd ask for some plants, and we had an outpouring of people donating plants and dirt and things like, soil for us to do the project like that. Right now we're looking for some funds to help with painting, and I'm looking at doing some flooring. Again, the shelter's tired. It's 40 years old. And so we've been doing some updating, I know, and doing some updating. So we're looking for some funds to continue the flooring that we've started. So it's a variety of things. Yeah.
What statistics about domestic violence or human trafficking in Northwest Indiana can you share with us?
So, the 1 in 3 that I said is, just a real number. These Northwest Indiana is really a crossroads. I don't think people realize that 94 were, coming through from Chicago to Michigan to Ohio, as we call it, the crossroads. And so we're the LaPorte County Sheriff, the police department, we work really closely with them. And so they, have shared with us kind of the crux of it. And they're always trying to find ways to get to rural areas, and a lot of times substances are traveled through that area too, which also is a part of the trafficking. So we see quite a bit in this area. And LaPorte County does have a higher level of poverty and lower income level. And so when you find areas that you have a lower income level, you're going to see more substance abuse, more domestic abuse in those areas. So we do see that in our area, but we're really working at that.
Yeah. So do you guys have any events on the horizon for Stepping Stone that you'd like to tell our listeners about?
Yeah, well, we're finishing up one right now. If anyone's interested, it's still open for about 3 more days. We're selling hanging basket flowers on our Facebook page, and can buy a hanging plant. And it's actually partnered with Chesterton Garden and Feed. Oh. So we're selling those, and that's like a little fundraiser that we're doing right now. We're going to be doing an event in September, so watch for that. It'll be a luncheon event that we're putting together. So that's our next one. And then we always do a volunteer celebration every year where anyone that's volunteered for us is welcome to come. And we do like games and prizes, and we kind of share an update about the year. And that was kind of fun. We did that. We're going to be doing that in September. And then October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we do a lot of different things in October. So some more things. Just follow our website and our the good old Facebook page. Yeah.
All right. So does Stepping Stone have any upcoming goals that you're looking forward to? And if so, how are you planning on achieving them?
So part of what my goal is, having come into the shelter in July, is that we had, like I said, the shelter has worked really hard, and we had Stepping Stone had gone through several challenging years of not having enough staff, not having the wage disparity. We really struggled with, getting staff wages more competitive. So I personally have really worked hard at trying to find grants that will help us to bring staff wages up. We're still not there, but we're getting there. We are doing a lot of physical work at the shelter, but again, that takes, people understanding our need, that, just because we're a shelter doesn't mean that we should have old things.
Yeah.
We should have, we work with women and men and children's self-confidence and self-esteem, and what makes you feel better, a nice, safe, clean space, So trying to modernize. We're like living in the 80s. I think we joke about it, but it's
all the time.
Yes, it's
80s
clean.
And 90s.
It's clean. It's clean, but it's a lot of older donated things. And so so we're really working on trying to be strategic about the donations that we get and utilizing them, and being really, thinking about how can we make women and men and children feel better in this space, and making it more trauma-informed, and our colors to really be a soothing, healing, comfortable environment. So that's when I was telling you about the flooring, and we've just, Lowe's had donated these awesome cabinets, and Sharps donated a cabinet, and so we're, able to get our dining room together, and we're working on that, and it just feels good to have, new flooring. Yeah. So those are really goals that we're doing right now, and like I said, just continuing to serve and doing a really good job at serving the individuals that come into our shelter.
Right. So is there anything else about Stepping Stone Shelter or domestic violence that you wanted to tell us that we haven't touched on yet?
I think this is a really good thing to get it out there to people who aren't experiencing domestic violence, because people who are experiencing domestic violence have probably already Googled the resource. But people that aren't going through domestic violence, I think it's important for them to know that we are there. Maybe there is somebody they know that hasn't done that Google search yet or called that hotline yet, to maybe encourage them to be like, hey, there's this shelter. Maybe they can help you get out of your situation. So yeah, just to get it out there. That's what I was saying. I'm excited to do this. Chris called me. I was like, yeah. But yeah, just to get it out there to people who necessarily aren't experiencing domestic violence, so they can have that resource to pass on to people that they come across that are experiencing domestic violence.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times I think people don't know what to say. You might suspect that your friend is in a situation. You don't know how to deal with it. You don't want to bring up something and insult them or embarrass them, or, and so we're a resource for those people too. Like, hey, I think I have a friend,
I've had
or I
people
think,
call like that.
I don't know what to do for this person. And so we're there for a lot of different reasons, and can't hurt to call and ask, how can we help? How can I help someone? It takes a village, and the more outreach, letting people know that we're there and what we do. That's really the important thing. And when someone that needs us, then they'll come when they're ready. But we don't judge them, and a lot of times, well, why did they go back? Everyone has their reasons. We're not in that situation. That is not, until you live that situation.
It's usually because they have to.
You don't judge, just there to help and to offer supportive services and just to be there for whatever it is that they need. And we have a really great team. So I think our team works really well together, and it's continuing to grow. And we love that you invited us here today.
Yeah.
Thank you
Absolutely.
for that,
We love to uplift
So-
other non-for-profits and make sure you guys' platform gets out there. Because people need to know about the services that are available to them. They're not just going to magically find them. So we're
Yeah.
glad that you guys are able to share your
Yeah.
guys' story and what you do here today.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Just once again, can you guys share Stepping Stone's contact information and where people can reach out to get help?
Yeah, so steppingstonесhelter.org, the website. And then the Facebook page is under Stepping Stone Shelter, Michigan City. I think it's to live without violence. I think I should look up the slash part. But and then 219-879-4615 or 1-866-879-4615.
Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for coming in. It was wonderful to learn more about Stepping Stone Shelter and the important services it provides. That's going to be it for this week's edition of the Porter County Perspective. This is Maxwell Good, Program Director, signing off.